Welcome in, One Nation, to another episode of A Thing or Two About a Thing or Two. I'm your host, TJ Winger, today joined by Banks Blair. Banks, thank you for taking the time to join me today.
Thanks, TJ. It's nice to be here.
Banks, you're the director of the AAC. Let's start going back to when you were once a student. I figured you were a really fun person to talk to because you have a lot of different angles of how you could tie into this podcast. But you yourself, once a college baseball player, and I kind of want to talk about your experience as a student athlete. You played at a couple different schools, though, right?
Yes, I did. So I started at Catawba College, which is a small Division II school, very small Division II school down in Salisbury, North Carolina. Redshirted there, got to play in some fall games. Redshirted for the spring, though, and then eventually transferred to the University of Mary Hardin Baylor down in Belton, Texas, which at the time was an NAIA school, and it's since become NCAA Division III. And so, yes.
Yeah, and in Catawba, actually, I know a few baseball players there. That's a really solid program. So that says a lot about what you used to be.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. But then moving forward, you joined the Army, correct?
Yeah, I got out of school. I finished school and was a middle school teacher, and I worked in group homes with vulnerable adolescents, folks, kids whose home life and foster home lives had fallen apart, and then ended up enlisting in the Army at age 27.
Fun times ahead.
Yeah.
Then after the Army, this is when you started to find yourself in roles where you are now, correct?
Right. So I was in the Army for 4 years. I got to do some cool stuff, jump out of airplanes, learn another language.
That
then
is cool stuff.
Yeah, and then it was medically retired. I got hurt on a parachute jump and ended up getting medically retired a few years later. Decided while I was in the Army, I met my now wife. We've been married 14 years, but she gave me a book by an environmental philosopher at Oregon State University. And I read the book while I was transitioning out of the military and decided I wanted to go study natural resources and environmental studies, and ended up going back for a second degree at the Oregon State University, where I learned about academic advising from my academic advisor. So I ended up finishing that degree, and when she retired, her name was Marge. When Marge retired, she said, "Hey, Banks, you'd be great at this job." And I kind of blew her off. I was going to go do something for the Forest Service or Fish and Wildlife Service. Sure. And I ended up applying for her job and got it, and decided that this was what I wanted to do. I enjoy working. I'm a helper by nature, and wanted to work with students.
So once you're given that opportunity, how long did it take before you said, okay, yeah, this is for sure what I want to be doing for the rest of my life?
So I started October 11th, 2011. And I would say by beginning of 2012, I'd pretty much decided that's what I wanted to do. And so I was working on a master's degree in forestry and stopped that. I was about 18 credits into that and decided I wanted to focus my attention and my education in a different direction, and got a master's degree in academic advising from Kansas State University. So go Wildcats. And then eventually a doctorate in higher ed administration from Northeastern University. So go Huskies.
A man of many degrees, my word. So with academic advising, I think there's a lot of challenges that come up once you enter that field, and you are in a lot of ways the float and the preserve to try to help athletes make sure they are able to play and they can have academic success, and that they're also set up post-grad, right? They can be in a position of success. So no easy task by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of weight on your shoulders. So can you kind of talk about some of the challenges or some of the difficulties you might face day in, day out, or maybe even over the course of a year?
Well, so I think, are you asking about difficulties I face?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. We'll start with you. Yeah.
Well, difficulties that we face currently, we just happen to be transitioning between student information systems. So getting good data to figure out where the students are that need help. Sure. We're working on that. Things are getting better every day. So that will work its way out. I think really the keeping lines of communication open between students and the support services that we offer. We've got PASS, which is peer-assisted supplemental study. So those are your extra study sessions led by students who have been successful in a number of the classes, and we've got probably close to at least 20 classes that we offer PASS sessions for. So we've got a great program there. And then we also have Go Mentoring, which is getting organized. So this is academic coaching. So similar to an athletic coach getting a player ready for competition, our academic coaches get students ready to compete, air quotes, in the classroom, whether it's, that's also, so that's students. Go Mentoring is really for students who are not yet in academic trouble or having academic difficulty. We also have specific academic coaching services for students on academic warning and academic probation. So we work with students, and it's really customized to what the student needs. Time management, note-taking skills, test-taking skills, overcoming test anxiety, things along those lines. It's really, when we meet with students, we figure out what they need and how we can help them. And then it's a two-way street. So a lot of it falls back on the students too, to keep up their end of the bargain, so to speak, and do the work. That's what it's about. It boils down to work, being disciplined, and having that work ethic.
So you listed out a bunch of different resources available here for student athletes at the University of Lynchburg. So now I want to ask you, as someone who has been on the player side of it and now working on the academic coaching side of it, can you tell me why these resources are so valuable and so necessary in a lot of ways for student athletes to put them in a position where they can handle everything that's being asked of them?
Well, student athletes have have challenges that your typical, again, air quotes, typical students don't face. Lots of time on the practice field, traveling to competitions, competing, the travel back. There's time, so there's also players' meeting with coaches. A lot of it boils down to being disciplined and having a structured schedule and finding ways to balance the athletic with the social, with the academic portions of their education. And so finding balance, knowing when to seek help is also a key contributing factor to student athlete success. So having coaches here at University of Lynchburg who put a lot of time in meeting with their students off the field and outside of practice and competition time is important, so that they're doing those pulse checks. But yeah, that's really what it boils down to, and is having a structure behind you that you're willing to use. And so part of it too with the academic coaching and a lot of this and support services that we offer, it's not just for the students who are struggling. If you're one of those people who wants to move your GPA from maybe a 3.0 to a 3.5 or a 2.5 to a 3.0 or there are ways to improve as well. So it's not just digging yourself out of a hole. It's similar to when you're an athlete. You don't want to just be good, you want to be great. Well, and you can do that academically as well. And we've got the people and the resources to help you do that.
Right. And even you talked about earlier, those past leaders, those are former students, as I understand.
They're current students.
Or current students, that's what I meant.
They're current
students that you had taken that class before and had done well enough to where they've been deemed basically, hey, you know this stuff, help someone else out who might need that extra tutoring. So
this could be, those are like the past sessions. It could be accounting, it could be biology, history, sociology, criminology, things along those lines. We also have the Math Engagement Center for students who need some extra support or guidance mathematically, math, statistics, things like that. We've got the Modern Language Resource Center for students who want some extra support. We have a foreign language requirement. You've got to do at least a year of a foreign language, and so the Modern Language Resource Center is an excellent place to go and get some support there.
That's awesome. And so we talked about you have degrees from half the D1 schools across the country, it feels like. But you've also worked at a lot of big schools. And then you have come to the University of Lynchburg. What about Lynchburg was captivating enough to say, hey, that's where I want to go next?
Well, so I started as an advisor in student support services at Oregon State University, which right now we're sitting in football, sitting atop the Pac-12 North. Go Beavs, 4-1. It's a huge school. It's 30,000 students. Well, I guess it's not huge compared to some of the Big Ten schools, but it's a big school, 30,000 students, pretty big campus. And then from there, I went to Boise State, so another big campus, big metropolitan campus. Got to work with some of the football team there. Worked with some athletes at Oregon State as well. And then from I did 2 tours of duty, so to speak, at Oregon State. So Boise State back to Oregon State, and then eventually went to Virginia Tech, where I worked for 3 years in cross-campus academic advising initiatives. Again, got to work with some student athletes there. Having worked at big schools, I enjoy the energy, especially the athletic energy. I'm a big sports fan. The energy is great there, but I didn't really get the chance to see the students I worked with, or really see them outside of academic advising sessions, or maybe when I was teaching classes, I got to see a few of them in class. But that was it. So one of the things that attracted me to the University of Lynchburg was the smaller campus feel.
Yeah,
definitely a smaller campus, but it's an engaged campus. Great athletics, great academics, and it's a chance I can walk around the Dell, the center of campus, and I can see students that I've met with, students that I saw in orientation that I still remember from the summer. I can go into the dining hall and see them there. So it's just that sense of community, and that it's what I needed as a student, and we offer it here, and that's really what attracted me here. I also grew up in Lynchburg, so the chance to kind of come back and do some good, go out into the world, learn what I needed to learn, and bring back what I needed to the local community. So
that is awesome. And it's really interesting you say that, because, primarily up until this, I've been talking to students in this podcast, and they all say, I love small classes. I have a personal connection with my teacher. Now you're saying the same thing, but from the other side of this quote unquote transaction, of this experience of working with one another. And that's pretty awesome when both sides feel that, hey, I actually know the person I'm talking to. I see them regularly. I call them a close acquaintance. And then you go out to their athletic event and you're, hey, let's go Jackie Blair or whoever it may be.
Yeah. Well, and really in the academic advising world and working with students, it's about conversations and connections and really building relationships. That's what it's about. And being able to doing the same thing that I've enjoyed doing for the last 10 years on a smaller scale, but having the chance to do, I think, more good here is really what I enjoy about being here so far. It's great students, great campus support for athletics and other programs, and it's fun.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
It's energizing, I guess.
Right.
It gives me purpose and helps give me meaning. So
yeah, that is awesome. And then you get to also keep the good athletics part of it and that high energy, which is fun, no doubt. So one last question I want to ask you, kind of just if you want to put the mission statement out there for the AAC, what its goal on campus is, and then I will let you go.
Well, I don't have it memorized. We recently restructured, so we're kind of exploring that in light of our larger university strategic plan that's being revamped. Mm-hmm. But I think really we're a place to connect with students. Regardless, we've started expanding our services to grad students and grad programs. So we really want to be the hub for academic support on campus. We want students to engage with their faculty members, engage with their faculty advisors, because we're not the only advisors on campus. Definitely. We only really advise in the advising sense students for the first year, and then we help transition them to their colleges where they work with faculty members who are experts in their field. So we really want to be the hub for academic support on campus, a place where students know that they can always get help. I don't want any Hornet to ever feel like they can't go somewhere to get the support they need. If we can't help you, though, we'll find somebody who can. Yeah. So really, that's our mission. It's just a place where students can feel like they belong and that they matter, and they can get the help they need, even if they don't always know what help, even if they don't know what that always looks like. Yeah. We've got enough. We got the know-how to help drill down and maybe find things that help students work on that they might not have even spotted yet. So. That's awesome. And thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. No, thank you, TJ. It was my pleasure. Yeah, I think you brought out a lot of interesting points. Hopefully you all enjoyed listening to this episode of A Thing or Two About a Thing or Two. Be sure to come back next week. But until then, we are signing off.